So, yeah, introduce yourself.
My name's Laurence Osueke, former GB boxer, currently pro boxer, boxing out at Wallsend Boxing Academy.
So we've obviously had a chance to have a little catch up. I've got a little bit of background on you already.
Yeah.
So for those that didn't and wasn't talking with us, which wasn't anyone, introduce yourself. Kind of what's the background? How did you discover boxing?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you've always had an interest in other martial arts as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it probably stems back from being probably 4 or 5, watching The Karate Kid and that type of thing, all the martial art type films, Bruce Lee. And yeah, my granddad and my uncle also boxed. So I think it was kind of always there in the background, and kind of, I think it just developed from there. But my parents didn't want me to box. So I kind of done my apprenticeship. Obviously from being 16, done that for a few years, and then I was kind of driving, able to get myself to gyms if I wanted to. I was kind of old enough to make my own decisions at this point, and yeah, basically we went to a gym in Newbiggin Hall Estate in Newcastle with Glenn McCrory, and they had 2 Cuban coaches at the time, and it basically all started then, and I never looked back really.
So, what was it like then So how old was you when you really started?
19, yeah, 19. Which is quite late.
So
yeah.
It is quite late.
Yeah.
So what was it like then, coming in quite late and kind of having to knuckle down and get the work done?
I mean, I'd always been involved in some sort of sport or training anyway, so the fitness aspect was never really a problem. But I think as well, because I didn't go through the juniors side of things, I was a bit naive to boxing. So when I went in there, I just went steaming in and kind of tried to take the guy out, as simple as that really. Obviously, I quickly learned you can't just do that, you know what I mean? So I think but it kind of worked for me really, because I didn't respect anybody, and
ignorance is bliss, isn't it?
Yeah, ignorant, exactly, 100%. So I kind of went in there, and it probably helped me looking back. Luckily, I started off with the Cuban coaches who gave me a really good foundation. So I did have a good basics there to defend myself. And I was passionate about it. I loved it, and I don't do anything in half measures. So I was there training 60 days a week with a Cuban coach, and I just progressed really quickly.
So what's been the highlight for you then? Over your how old are you now?
I'm 31 now, yeah.
So you've been boxing 12 years?
Yeah.
So what's been the highlight? Because that's a decade.
Yeah, a long time. Don't ask where the times went. I mean, I was out for a few years with a couple of injuries and stuff, but yeah, it's all good now. But probably getting on to GB, maybe back in 2010 I won the national title. I think that was probably the biggest achievement at that point, but that kind of opened the doors to getting onto GB and kind of progressing from there, which I later got onto the full-time podium squad as a fully funded athlete, so it was great.
That's amazing.
I boxed at the Europeans, I boxed all over the world at various multi-nations, so it was great.
Where's the favourite place you've been?
Boxing wise, to be fair, most of the time we went to these different places, you were there for a purpose, so you didn't really get an opportunity to sightsee as such. Yeah. But I mean, I've been to places like Kazakhstan, which I wouldn't say was my favourite place, but you're getting to see a totally different culture. So I enjoyed all the experience, to be honest. It was a privilege. It didn't cost me a penny. I was paid to go there, train, fight. So it was great, you know.
So when you're part of Team GB, and you're a boxer, do you only really hang around with the Team GB boxers, or do you get to see the other athletes of Team GB as well?
I mean, obviously it was the Institute of Sport where we trained in Sheffield, so there was like at the time there was like Jess Ennis was there. I mean, other pro boxers like Carl Froch, who was trained by Rob McCracken, he was there. So and they had basketball there, so there was various other sports, and you kind of, you know, when you're coming into the institute every day training, you're kind of passing these different people, and but obviously when you're there to do a job, and you kind of focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, man. How are things at the moment?
I mean, since turning pro last year, I've had 9 fights and 9-0. I'm quite happy with things have went. I think I've progressed nicely. Just this year, boxed my first 8-rounder, so I'm not going to look too far ahead at this stage, but I mean, I'm looking for titles. Like, there's opportunities this year potentially. So yeah, I'm at this stage, one step at a time. So I'm looking to get a title before the end of the year. That's the ideal goal at this point in time.
Sweet. So, upon talking with Joe yesterday, I'm quickly coming to realise that there's a lot of rules that you have to go with. So, like, Joe was mentioning that it's always good to have an untarnished record as a professional. So
Yeah.
like your time as an amateur can be spent like investing, that's when your losses are, and then you make the turn to go professional
Yeah.
as and when the time, or you feel the time is right? So that being said, and he goes like you need you need to be at a certain amount of rounds before you can have the opportunity to fight for a title, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's that many rules. I don't know them all myself, to be honest. But I mean, in terms of the amateur aspect, I think it's not so much that you kind of don't mind getting the losses, because no matter where you're fighting, whether it's amateur, pro, you want to win regardless. But I think it's more accepted in the amateurs in the sense of you go to multi-nations, you basically, especially when you get to the elite level, you're fighting top class opponents every time you fight. It's not like you're building your way up, you're going straight into a multi-nation, you're fighting the cream of the crop from whatever country. So there's not many amateurs that have clean records, generally speaking, and obviously that's your record starting for a lot of boxers from a young age. So very few boxers I know have got a clean record as an amateur. And with regards to the pro side of things, I don't think a loss is bad for your record. I think obviously when you're a winning prospect and you're kind of working your way up and you haven't got them losses, you've got more opportunities that'll maybe come. But at the same time, if you're fighting good kids and you're only losing narrowly, I think there's still plenty of opportunities. And sometimes it's a case of guys who've already got contracts and you beat them guys, you fight them guys and you don't necessarily win, but you give a good account of yourself. That can showcase yourself and give you other opportunities. But I think the likes of the Mayweathers of the world have kind of made it almost cool to not have your you know what I mean, and be unbeaten. I think it's kind of him who's kind of done that in boxing in recent years. But yeah, I don't necessarily think a loss in your pro career is the end of the world, if you know what I'm saying. But especially as you're working your way up, it's good to have that record till you get to that title level. I think that gives you more opportunities to kind of get in with the guys at that next level, you know, whether it's for us British level type of thing.
Yeah. So there's been a couple of announcements last week.
Yeah.
2 quite big shows announced in Newcastle, aren't there?
Yeah, there's 2, yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about them.
Yeah, obviously there's the MTK show on the 28th of September, and then the Matchroom one's just been announced as well this week on the 19th of October. So obviously I'm in current negotiations of getting on them 2 shows, but at this point in time I'm just kind of looking at the options and kind of seeing what's best for me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you've had 9 fights since you turned pro last year.
Yeah.
To go out 9, when did you turn pro?
I got my license like the end of March last year. Or was it I think it was like it might have been either end of April, and I think around April time, I think it was the end, and then I boxed at the 31st of March last year. That was in Preston and down Manchester way. That was my debut.
Yeah. So to go out 9 times in a year is quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, well, to be honest, like I say, I was out for a little bit of time previously, so in my mind, I was making up for lost time. I wanted to get out there and be busy, and to be honest, I would have had even more between now and then, but in terms of when you're selling tickets and stuff, it's very hard to sell tickets when you're boxing that regular. Yeah. There was times last year where I had 2 fights in 2 weeks, within 2 weeks of each other, so it's very hard to keep selling tickets that regular because you're asking people to they've got to spend money on a ticket, they've got to get to the venue, people like to have a drink at these venues, so it's expensive. But yeah, I've got out with every opportunity.
Amazing. So what's next for you? You're obviously looking forward to negotiations with this next
2 shows.
2 shows.
Yeah.
But what about over the next, say, 3 years? What do you hope to achieve?
Well, I hope by the end of this year, like I say, in an ideal world, I would have boxed for a title if that opportunity arises. And then, to be honest, from there, that'll get myself on the scene if I come out victorious on that. And then obviously it's a case of, in an ideal world, getting a good promotion deal. And obviously my management team will guide us in that respect. But in terms of 3 years, I would like to think I'll be fighting for British titles and even possibly like a European level within 3 years. But who knows? I mean, it all depends on how things go and how quick I progress and what opportunities are given to me. Really, that's how it works in the boxing game. You don't get given anything, so
Got to work hard.
You've got to work hard for it, yeah.
So if anybody wanted to contact you, wanted to come and show support for you, wanted to get tickets from you, all of that sort of good stuff, where would they be able to locate you on social? And
well, I'm on all three. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So drop me a message. I mean, I try to. It's one thing that I'm working on, really being more active on social media, because it's important so that people can see what you're doing and how you're doing. So yeah, you can contact me on all them.
And you'll be able to help you with that, won't it?
Yeah. But in fair play, he's great at that. But yeah, that's how you can get a hold of me, and the support's always appreciated because you need it in the sport of boxing.
So what's your handle then, if people wanted to find you?
On what's my what? Sorry.
What's your handle? So like what's your name on Instagram?
Oh, sorry, it's Laurence Osueke is my name. Yeah, on Instagram it's L Osueke 03 is my name to search, and obviously Laurence Osueke on Facebook.
Awesome, Laurence. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you today, man.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time, and yeah, I agree. Good luck in your upcoming fights, and yeah, man.
Excellent, much appreciated.
Yeah, sweet.